I didn't know this was graffiti, right? And I realized later on down the line that each graffiti artist in London has a different hand style. Each crew has the kind of the same look and feel, but a slight different tweaks. And I think it was just that association with having a brotherhood and a crew that you can go out and we call it bombing the walls with your tags was something really appealing. Also, there was something quite obviously naughty and rebellious about it, that you can get caught and you get fined or put into prison. And for me, it's just like that adrenaline rush just to get your art out there.
Hello and welcome to Creativity for Sale podcast, a show to help you start and grow your life-changing creative career and business. My name is Radim Malinic and creativity changed my life. You see, I believe creativity can change your life too. I even wrote a book about it and it inspired this podcast. I've set out to interview the world's most brilliant creatives, designers, writers, musicians, makers and marketeers about their life-changing experiences with creativity. If you ever wanted to know how people go from their humble beginnings to the pinnacle of their success, our conversation should provide you with an intimate look into triumphs, challenges, and untold stories behind their creative endeavors. We also discuss the highs and lows of creative careers and creative life. So, thank you for joining me on this exploration of passion, creativity, innovation, and the boundless potential within us all. Let creativity change your life. Are you ready? My guest today has created his corner of the creative universe. As a purveyor of merging bold abstracts with expressive detail, it has earned him a well-deserved spotlight in the industry. As a co-founder and creative director of Blup, creative company with focus on creative pioneers, elevating brands, and defining new trends. He's also known to share his creative vision and philosophies from many festival stages worldwide. It's my pleasure to introduce Dines. Hey Dines, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Well then, my main man, what are you saying, brother? You good?
Dude, it's been a while. We tried to make this happen and here you are. And yeah, it's my pleasure to have you on, man.
Listen, man, I've been seeing what you've been cooking up recently, and yeah, it's a pleasure and honor to be in your presence to have a little chat, see what we can cook up.
Excellent stuff. I mean, I think this is the first time actually I'm speaking to you since you've become a father. How has your life changed?
Crazy, man.
Congratulations, by the way. And yeah, how's your life?
Thank you. I've been texting you saying, give me some tips of how you do it. But yeah, look, it's life-changing, obviously. But for me, it's just unlocked a whole new purpose, a whole new hunger. I look in Caleb's little eyes and I think, bro, I'm doing this for you. Now, everything I'm doing is, for him. It's not for me now. Even if I get paid, it doesn't go on a trip to Ibiza now. It goes on a bunch of nappies. So that's the kind of angle I'm taking it as daddyhood. And yeah, like I said, this unlocked a whole new, different beast in me.
With your creative time, obviously, before either I've had kids, you can do all those amazing long days and you can go to Ibiza, whatever you want. How do you work? How has your sort of working life changed?
Yeah, well, we'll get into it a little bit later, but we're working remotely now, which helps a lot. So we got rid of our Soho space, obviously just like cost and just reinvesting it back into our independent agency. So now I'm at home 2 days a week and the rest of it is in meetings all days and just building a network. So when I'm at home, it's nice. I give the missions a bit of a break and just having fun, balancing daily life and crying and actually trying to jump on a Zoom call and being like 2 minutes late because I've had to do something. So I'm trying to be hands-on as much as possible. But at the same time, when the day stops, say Zena goes to bed like 9 o'clock, I'm up till 1, just carrying on working, researching, downloading information to get ready for the next day. So it's non-stop. Anything that's changed is, going out after work and having a few drinks and stuff. Now I need to be fresh. And actually that's been a lot more productive, thank goodness.
I think you're a brave man to work from home. I got literally, as soon as we had our first child, I got literally kicked out because I used to work from the bedroom that became child's bedroom. And it was like, just go. And it was one of the best things I've ever done because you try to be hands-on, you try to be helpful and to be a new parent and I can't be a freelancer agency or the best working from home regardless, like whatever you do. Always, it's a massive juggle because you want to do everything well and you end up doing nothing at all. It's just absolute mess.
I'll tell you what though, it's actually got me working a lot more smarter because I was realizing, hang on a minute, I have to actually create this mood board or answer this email within a certain time frame. Whereas before I would dilly-dally on it and try and find other things to do. Now I've just got like that list of that. I look at the desk, tick it away. And if I'm finished by like 3, I'm like, okay, cool. This is more time for me, more time for the family. But at the same time, like you said, just having that kind of separation to make yourself think it's hard at the moment. So my time now is now. So thank God you give me the 9 o'clock interview. That's perfect.
Oh, I mean, there's a reason for why this is a 9 o'clock in the evening, because I can either do it at 10 o'clock in the morning, which when the kids are in school, or 9 o'clock in the evening when they're in bed. And this is always like, I've got 2 of them and it's touch and go. Sometimes I have to wait for like another 10 minutes because they still got like starting fires upstairs.
But even you telling me that, it's just, I'm mentally writing it down because that's going to be my time soon. And you look, bro, if you're doing stuff like this in between, it's inspiring, man. So you're using your time very wisely to achieve more. So hats off, bro.
You said something interesting. You said it's no longer for me, it's for him. Like, did you feel the shift that as a parent, your work has been different, your mind has been different? Any changes?
I've been a bit more ruthless. I think more ruthless with my time, more ruthless with just how I manage the business. You're looking at more like the pricing side of it. Every penny now is going towards us, Alex, my business partner, and our families, building something special. So at the end of the day, that's the kind of real life change that's happening in real time. And time is of an essence. Luckily, I'm doing something that I love every day. But at the same time, now I'm realizing there are bigger priorities and bigger passions and bigger love in your life that evolved me and matured me as a person. At the end of the day, listen, if I can do the 2 at the same time and grow them 2 together beautifully, then I've won.
It's amazing. So let's talk more shop. So obviously you're quite well known in the industry for who you are and what you've been doing with Blup. But if someone never heard of you, what would you say that you do with Blup? What's your mission? What's your vision? What's your purpose? How would you describe it with Blup?
Purpose to be as big time as you, brother. Always been the inspiration. But listen, from day one, we've known each other since the Southampton days. And when I studied there, I did actually kind of look at legends like yourself when you were in Southampton doing all this stuff before I even graduated, and seeing that there is hope in the design world to actually like bring your creative flair to the world and still stick to your guns, develop a style, and actually just flourish and help brands and other people around you grow. So for me, it's just the mission was always to inspire. The mission is always to be myself. The mission was always to like have that positive energy around and view the creative industry in a different kind of light through the only way I know how, which is design. And I think that's really connected me really well. I like to think that I'm an authentic guy. I wear my heart on my sleeve and I try to always have a smile on my face because, like I said, I'm blessed and lucky to wake up every morning and just like jump on that computer and create something and then people appreciate it. So yeah, the mission was always to build a kind of a big studio, but as time goes on, you realize that business is hard and it's a never ending circle. You understand like, okay, what's next? What is your next purpose in life using what you got? Yeah, there's a few things that we're cooking up and yeah, we can run through that a bit later.
Amazing. Right. We have to talk about a signature style because with Blup, I mean, if there's anybody I know who's doubled down on who they are, how they do it, it's been you guys. You see the serial cuts, studio outputs, Volt 49s, like everyone's had their thing and then they petered up to corporate world and branding and packaging. And it's just exactly the same. I mean, we had some sort of signature style. It sort of changes. I mean, if I was to look back 15 years or 10 years, like we're evolving when we had something, but with your stuff, it's like, it's been Blup ever since like day one, like this is quite remarkable because of course we all do work behind the scenes that sometimes you have to work for money. Sometimes, your soul is not going to pay the mortgage, but what you guys put out there consistently has been blah, 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 blah. It's quite a useful word for that, blah, blah, blah. Did you ever have that thing that when you have that sort of second thought, like, is this working? Should we change it? Is this right? Is this a unique point? Because when you double down, you lose competition because no one does what I do or what you do or what we do in the same way. So it's just, okay, this is only us. So tell me about the journey of the style because I've been always fascinated that in a way, like it's always looked crazy and it's getting even more eccentric. And how is the style? How is it working? And yeah, how's it been?
Yeah, that's an amazing analysis. And it's nice to hear from someone that's not inside of Blup and just looking into it. And from day one, isn't it? So you've seen the evolution of the quite basic kind of collage style now to like the more abstract style. And the thing I've always said when I do my talks around the world and do these interviews is you have to scream so loud or shine so bright that people notice you. And then once you get noticed, you can have the conversations. So for me, I was obviously started off as a graffiti artist and just loving just painting the abstract letters on the wall, on that clean canvas. And when people walk past it, they're like, whoa, that's pretty decent. That's sick. I don't know what it says, but that's decent. And there's always that kind of destroy the beautiful, make it look your own stamp to it. So I think the style Blup originally from just like the graffiti days, the remix of just image collage, trying to tell a story within the image, trying to just push the boundaries a little bit each time and evolve it. And there has been times where I'm thinking, do I mix this up? Every time I do mix it up, I'm thinking, I'm just doing it. I want to do this. And if I'm mixing it up, I'm doing it because I think people are getting bored of it. There's millions of people that haven't seen it. There's a back catalogue that people might look at Studio Blup's history and then they fall in love with it. And that's how you become a fan. So I think if you're changing it midway, it shows to me that I'm not confident in what I'm producing. And it's almost like a rebellion thing as well. I think even going at university, that fire in my belly when the teachers used to fail me and say, this is too weird, this is too abstract, this is not graphic design. And the fact that I knew it was digital art, but digital art wasn't a thing back in the day. But I knew I'm using the tools that the graphic designers are using and remixing it to make it my own signature. Surely that's an art form that should be celebrated rather than penalized. So because of that, I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to carry on doing it, get in trouble if I fail. But I know that people will be known for something. I'm known for the designs, style, the energy, and then transport that into the Blup philosophy. So all my team now know that we need to create something that stands out. And then once it stands out, then it's going to get noticed. And then when you get noticed, it equals jobs. So that's a long-winded way, but that's the kind of core of the style.
I think I'll just finally, after all these years, draw the parallel between you said, like, I used to be a graffiti artist and now this is what we do, because I've never seen your graffiti stuff. Is it the multi-layered, multicolor, like a big piece is? When did you start with graffiti? When did you start? And actually, where did you do it? Because are you originally from Brentford? Is that right? Or
yeah, West London, Brentford. So my cousin, he lived in, I think it was at Neasden, and he was like quite a big graffiti artist in terms of he just used to do the vandalism type of graffiti. And I remember going around his and he just had this sketchbook and he was just like drawing it like these beautiful handwritten typography, but in graffiti style. And the way it's just so smooth. And I was like, whoa, this is sick. What the hell? I didn't know this was graffiti, right? And I realized later on down the line that each graffiti artist in London has a different hand style. Each crew has the kind of the same look and feel, but a slight different tweaks. And I think it was just that association with having a brotherhood and a crew that you can go out and we call it bombing the walls with your tags was something really appealing. Also, there was something quite obviously naughty and rebellious about it, that you can get caught and you get fined or put into prison. And for me, it's just like that adrenaline rush just to get your art out there. And this is before it was celebrated in obviously stuff like in Brighton and like the big graffiti areas. It was obviously illegal. So to draw my like link to it, I never really did the big wall pieces. It was more like the sketching in the sketchbook of the graffiti. So that means I can be a bit more intricate. I can do a little more sharper edges and just create a word. At the time, it was like just Dines, or like my old tag was Rush or Oats, whatever. And I created those things. And then when it got to like spray paint on the wall, I would actually find just a nice canvas blank wall, like in my alleyway in my home in Brentford, or just like at my cousin's house, and we just spray paint. And then my other best mate, Alex, not my business partner, it's another Alex. He had this loft conversion. And then he just said to his dad, I don't want it painted. I just wanted just raw MDF on the wall, and we're just going to graffiti the whole thing. So we was about 13 years old, 14 years old, up to like 16, every Friday, just grashing on this wall to look like just some scribble book. But to us, it was art. To other people, it looked like a complete brown mess. But to us, it was just like our expression. So yeah, so that's where the kind of just the link with the digital art, because before I got into trouble or, got arrested, I thought, let me just turn this talent into something that could actually support my future rather than squash it.
It's funny because when you think about like things used to be simpler, like we're not that much older than you, and the medium of like brain paint and like that. This is what we used to do. I mean, I was very unsuccessful. We used to call it tagging, right? And I think I was just too cheeky. And it was quite liberating because you go like, oh, this is what I did. I think this is like the seed of a graphic designer. It was like, hey, look, on that wall is a piece of me, like, and it's just, I think this is we're trying to do, as opposed to like, no, what is that random squiggle? Like, did you, what, why, how,
Just to correct, the tagging part was the main thing. And even when I was at school, I had this thick paint pen, like the nib was literally about an inch long. It was massive. And then I was just like, I know, I'll probably get in trouble with that, but like in the cubicle, just do like this big illustration and it's like a luminous, bright green ink. And like no one knew it was me. And there was like meetings at school saying, who's graffiti? And it was obviously nice. Like even just looked at my book, you can connect it. But that's again, it was just like, I just saw it as a blank canvas. I didn't see it as doing anything naughty or bad. It's just my expression. So now I look at a digital canvas, Instagram, the TikToks, the Facebooks, and those digital canvases are now my toilet walls, which I now just want to just let people see.
Don't tell your clients, I see your canvas as a toilet wall. It might be a bit confusing. So before we started recording, I said that you recently did a podcast for a different show where you talk about your history of how you went through university and through the ranks and stuff. And I mean, if anyone wants to listen to, we can link back to Claire Blythe's show, which was nice if we could continue on that show. So going from where you are now, you've been building Blup quite a while, and the tagging, I was quite fascinated with the style of graffiti where you are with the 3D kind of work that you guys do, is becoming really known for. You mentioned it, and I'm going to link up on a previous question. You mentioned that there's a team, and it feels sometimes like when you see that kind of style of work, there's because you don't want one person, like they're their own freelancer, they've got their signature style. How do you find that you push it through a team, and how do you get that sort of harmony of ideas and talent? Like, do you feel that things are growing nicely, that you tell people and they move on to it, that they build it bigger, or do you have to control it quite a lot? How does this work?
Great question, mate. And it's a hard one because, you don't want to, for example, I've got our 3D guy, Simon, he's unbelievable. And he just reached out on Instagram and said, look, I would love to collaborate with you guys. Look, we get messages all the time, but this guy, I just felt the hunger. It reminded me when I was younger and taking opportunities. So when he came to the studio, and we still have a chinwag now, and we say to each other, he goes, I'm just here to support your vision. I do my own style, which is very clean and stuff. And you do your thing. I will just turn your idea into a 3D element. I can just make it look the way you want to do it. I'll add my spin to it, but ultimately I've come to Blup to learn and collaborate with you. And to hear that from a creative that's a lot, obviously younger, and almost like the whole what Damien Hirst does, where, it's not just his name, but it's his principles to his studio. For someone to help support that vision is amazing. And at the same time with Alex, even when I'm designing, I don't even show him, I'll just release it. And I want him to see it real time as that the fans or our followers would see it. And then he will screen grab it and be like, this is sick. And I'm like, bro, I'm designing it just for you only, man. Like you and me, because you've been from the bottom. And if it hits you and makes you feel good, then I know I've done something right. So when with our team now, we've got to cater for the clients, and we've got a lot of stuff that's, unrelated stuff. Like you said, it's, stuff that's paying for keep the lights on. It's doing the campaigns, it's collaborating, it's doing quite minimal stuff. But if I was to release that, people will be like, you're just a standard agency. We've seen this type of work before, but this is what clients want. And then the stuff that you're seeing outside of the client side is our time as R&D. So if we're then doing client work, we'll take a week off and we'll say, you know what, let's cook something up. Let's either create our own merch, let's create our own animation, let's do something with sound design, music, whatever. But we've got time to invest back into the studio and collaborate as a team. And that often then leads to more work that looks like the stuff that we've been doing. And then that's how you climb the ladder to eventually the brands just want to collaborate with you because of what you can produce. And they know that it can connect to the audience that you appeal to. So it's the long way around. Quadruple the amount of money that we could have if we just did the standard 3D stuff. But we're reinvesting our time back in the studio to create legacy and create work that lasts, that will stand the test of time. And that's what Blup is about. It's about creating legacy rather than just creating a norm.
Brilliant answer. I wanted to know, just for people who don't know, who's Alex?
I don't know who is Alex. Nah. He's my best friend, co-founder, business partner at Studio Blup. We studied graphic design at Solent together, and we were just kind of inseparable anyway. And what I liked about Alex is when you meet him, he's just a cool, chill, laid-back guy. And in a world of Diane's chaos, I need a conduit that actually just makes me calm down and says, it's going to be all right, Diane, we'll sort this out, or I'll sort it out. And this guy he come from a design background, but his whole thing is more about organization. So I call him the integrator and I'm the visionary. And after reading Rocket Fuel, we're just like, okay, shit, you are now the integrator. I am the visionary. And when we first started Studio Blup, I started it from the second year. And he obviously then did a thesis on me as a guy who's just finished university, launched a company, and now is working with like international brands. He got a distinction and I was like, what? You got a distinction all right about me? So I said, look, bro, I need you to be like my 50-50. I need you to be almost like a manager. I need you to wake me up in the mornings, go to meetings, you know what I mean? Let's have some fun. Let's travel around the world and let's do what we love. And yeah, 15 years later, bro, like we're still going strong. We had one argument. I think it was about buying a 4K camera rather than a HD camera. But other than that, we're just on the same path. And yeah, he's the integrator. He's the engine to the Blup.
If only every argument in the world would be about which camera to buy, I think the world would be a different place. And it's pretty awesome. Like to say, for 15 years, I was in bands with people for 15 minutes and it was like, yeah, it's time to go. I can't do this.
Yeah. But you know what partnership is all about? I always said that he is like a marriage, a classic quote, but you got to work on it. You got to spend time with each other. You got to go for dinner and like beers and just talk about anything other than work. And luckily we've got a crew of boys who are our best friends as well. We talk about other things other than work. And what the beauty of it is, I think when I'm with him, it reminds us of when we were younger and the fun times we had at university. So whenever we just jam and just come up with ideas, I've finally got a guy that's not telling me no. He's actually saying, "Guys, this is sick. I can make it happen." Or let's build on this idea because you're onto something here. And that gives me so much confidence just to be like, wow, no one's fighting against me. Someone just actually agreeing and actually wanting to build on it.
John Haggerty said once that every John needs a Paul, like Paul McCartney and John Lennon, right? So what's interesting that you said actually that you like that Alex agrees with you. He doesn't seem like he doesn't say no too much. Is that, do you find that helpful? Because I mean, we want the yes men to surround us because we want it sometimes quite easy, but I feel like creative conflict is where the actual magic happens because you have to compromise. How do you find it?
When I say agree with it, I know what he likes. So I'm actually working towards the stuff that he's going to say yes to. And almost I have to convince him that my idea is good. And if I can't articulate it or I can't show why it's going to work, then I know he's going to say no. And there's been plenty of times where he's like, Diane, what are you doing? So when I pitch him to an idea, it has to be fully fleshed out. It has to be straight to the point. Because he ain't got time to listen to me. The idea has to be sharp and I have to say why it's going to work. And because I've had weeks of just thinking about it before I announce it, he's like, yeah, this sounds sick. Because I've got him excited about something that potentially could work. So I'm very protective over my ideas. I don't put stuff out in the world unless I really thought about it and I really know there's a niche or a gap in the market. Because I don't want to be that guy that just launches something and it doesn't work. It has to be worked and calculated and I've got him to make it happen.
Very much so like the marriage, like he validates your ideas and says no to things that he thinks they're not right. When I'm working on something and my wife says, oh, what's that? You're like, oh, that's something really good, right? You're working on something that's gonna cook well. So that's interesting. So here's your filter. You literally, you feed the ideas and if he's excited, if it makes sense to him, then you send it out. Because I used to entertain the concept of to right wrong. When something feels wrong, it feels also quite right. And it's just like, how do you put that thing out there? And you say, like, you don't necessarily release anything unless it's fully fleshed out and it makes sense and it just needs to appeal to Alex. Does it sometimes stop you? Do you sometimes wish that you put something out there really quickly and be like, you know what, I had an idea in the morning, it's going out. I don't care what Alex thinks, Or how's your process?
That's when I stopped innovating because I was then doing something that I wasn't 100% right. And I was just doing it to again rebel. And when the business kind of grew and, I was kind of losing my kind of creative freedom. And I didn't have Alex to kind of bounce off ideas because he was too busy trying to like work out spreadsheets for the next 20 years, whatever. And all of a sudden I was like on my own. I was like, whoa, okay. So then I knew that was the secret formula that I didn't want to ruin. So then I started just evolving in other ways and find out ways of how I can utilize the brand and look at brand rather than design. We've got the cakes already made. It's where now you put these cupcakes, right? And where you put this brand out. So then that's when I started evolving into like the public speaking, the podcast. The other areas, going to universities and speaking, doing the personal workshops and looking at other areas where I can still be myself, but have that core of design. But then at the same time, it evolved me and made me force myself into other situations and other areas of my life and business because I didn't have that crux. I didn't have that person to navigate ideas with. So what can I do on my own? My own personal brand. And that's when that kind of era kind of grew.
It's interesting. You mentioned something that a lot of people mentioned on this podcast before. It's the bigger you grow, we feel like we lose the creative input. Obviously, we still need the companies. I mean, I grew in my studio and I was looking at people doing the stuff that I used to do for fun. Obviously, I used to be the driving force, but now obviously I was turning the wheel. People obviously I was collaborating. And it's, I think it's that sort of creative dissonance because we sometimes crave the freedom of, I don't necessarily want to do every single aspect of this work. I want to collaborate. I want to pay my way forward. I want to give new talent opportunities. But then the more senior you grow, then you kind of feel like you're losing that touch. But then you're still in charge of the company. You can still decide like which way the project goes and how you deal with clients and all that stuff. So with you growing the studio, why did you feel that happened? Because did you feel like you have to take on work that wasn't necessarily, it was just work for money and keeping people's pensions paid? Did you feel like that was the case? Or why does it happen? I think, and this is more like an open question, like why do you think it happens that when we grow bigger and more senior in our roles, why do we feel we lose the control? Because why do we grow this thing in the first place? Because it's a distance. Like I'm working 18 hours a day. I want to work 6 hours. More people. I want to grow. Like, what is your view on this one?
That's a really good point, my man. And I think it all stemmed from when I started hiring people to do the roles that I couldn't be bothered to do. So for example, we had someone in marketing. I was like, I am the marketing. I come up with the ideas, but I thought, let me just pay someone to do it and come up with some innovative ideas, hopefully. You then build out a kind of senior designer that has their own philosophy, but doesn't really connect with what the Blup ethos is. So things like that doesn't work out. You also have, when we got acquired, and joined a bigger group, then you had people to answer to. And then all of a sudden they're knocking on the door and saying, you need to say yes to this 50 grand project because the people at the top aren't going to get paid. And then all of a sudden you just think, am I just running like this people thing or am I running an innovation company? And when you start losing that magic and you feel like all the work that you're doing is going down and you're just doing stuff that other brands want you to do because, the creative director of so-and-so brand wants to put his stamp on it and wants to make it feel like his. And then all of a sudden we're just a production agency and just doing his idea. Then it waters down what you are about. And for us, the money was really good. But after a while, it's just like, I am creativity. I am what I've been born to do. And if I'm every day just coming in and managing people and managing clients and just doing this hamster wheel of just brands saying no and fighting against it, it's just like, what am I then? What have I become? So I just lost a bit of the happiness. And then it was to the point where I was just like, you know what? Do I really need to run this agency or can I just do this on my own and just actually just become a digital artist and just be happy and be broke? You know what I mean? And that's when that kind of first balance was, again, bringing back Alex, where he looked at my eyes and looked in his eyes and I said, is this what we're going to do?
So let me rewind it back because I know a little bit of the backstory. Obviously, you mentioned a merger and working for a bigger group. So for people who don't know the things on the inside, what was the motivation of actually joining a bigger group? Because kids, from one understanding, like when everyone sells a part of the company or sells the company, let's be honest, it's never really good news unless you go public or whatever, unless you put shares out. You're compromising with your ink, with the ink on the paper, with your signature. Like, I think, did it ever feel like you guys could have get a free reign and doing things that would be exciting and you feel like you were supporting? Because it sounded like you actually became more of a production agency for some part of a bigger group. You were going to grow Blup, or did you feel like you needed to become part of that group just for safety, for survival? Because I think you told me before that you guys merged just before COVID, or no, was it before COVID or during COVID? So did you feel that where you ended up, did you have any inkling at the beginning that's actually what's going to happen? Or did you feel it was going to be sunshine and ice creams and Blup forever?
We knew what we was getting ourselves into. Throughout the years, we've had offers to buy us out, to merge, to acquire the brands, to bring us in-house agencies. Like we even had one for quite a big sports company to say, we want to offer you this amount of money to turn all our brands around and make it, give it Blupify, give it that edge, give it that cultural relevancy. This is what we're going to put on the table. And then you're about to sign this deal, and then you read the contract, and it's an earn out over 5 years. And then you think, do I really want to be earning out for 5 years and just potentially being sackable if I'm not delivering, and you've sold your company for nothing, and so many horror stories, right? And that kind of gave us a bit of a thicker skin to say that if the right offer came and at the right time, that we would know exactly what we're looking for. We're not young kids anymore and blinded by a couple of mils. You could spend $1 million in a year, you know what I mean? It's nothing and you're back to square one. So for us, it's if someone came along and was the right fit culturally, where we wanted to take it and with the ambition, and let us be who we wanted to be, then eventually we will look at it and consider it. Then COVID hit. One of my boys, Ryan, who lives in China, said, this stuff is real, bro. If I was you, like, this company is going down left, right and center, and you need to future-proof your future up, because if you don't, you're going to lose everything. I was like, whoa. And this was in September. So we got approached by one of our mentors, and basically he just said, guys, like, I love what you do. I'm looking to create a super group with our tech team, our neuro linguistic programming team, our comms agencies, and we need a beautiful, shining little light of Studio Blup in our agency to make all the work look amazing. I was like, whoa, this is good. And because we trusted him as our mentor, we're like, this is an honor kind of thing. So we negotiated prices, and there's a lot of stuff in the contract where we were still 100% owners of our brand. There's got to be a buyback clause. There's all little things that could protect us in the long way, right? At the end of the day and we wanted shares in the group as well. So we're working for something. If we sell the group, then me and Alex are benefiting. This is life-changing money. And at the same time, it could be a chance to go as big as possible and still keep that philosophy and have hundreds of people working for us and open offices all around the world, all that usual stuff that you think, oh my God, this is what's going to happen. And then after a while, the first year was amazing. You know, the energized team grew to, I think it was about 18 at one time. Oh my God, this is like crazy. We've got HR for free. We've got like people at the top, CFOs, like this is amazing. The group was like 300 people. This is crazy. Our Christmas parties were mad. I was like, this is the place to be. Then we were promised like that we could sell the group in 4 years' time. And someone's going to come in, buy the group in 4 years' time. Your EBITDA will be 4 times multiple of what you are now. And then you can walk away in the sunset buzzing. The deal came after 2 years, and someone came knocking and said, we want to buy the whole group. And me and Al were like, whoa, guys, you promised us 4 years to grow Blup to a certain amount. And then if someone comes in, we can speak about it. They're like, no, we want to take the deal. So we would have lost half the company, full Studio Blup, because we would have had to sell the other half. Then we would have then cashed out on the percentage that we owned at the group. And then we would have just been working for someone in for 5 years as golden handcuffs and buying us out. And it was like, that don't make sense. At the same time, it was the breakneck speeds of getting work done and getting so much in just to cover, like you said, the pensions, the wages, the rent, the 150 grand, just Soho studio rent, like a year. It was crazy, bro. And you can imagine me like trying to pitch ideas to brands, them saying yes, but the next minute, big chunk of money is gone on just nothing. And then you're then continuously chasing this brand, you're continuously chasing the work, and it's just never ending. And you're thinking, I can't do this. And I'm looking at my creative team and I'm thinking, you're doing architecture floor plans, you're doing some sort of logo for some accountants. You'll come to Studio Blup to be inspired, yet you're doing this stuff just to make our targets and hit our targets. And I said, this is not what I need. This is not what I want. And then, so the people who was going to buy us pulled out at Christmas last year. Me and Al looked at each other and we had a little bit of a smile and we thought, okay, this is our chance to get out.
It's an interesting story to think about, like how we spent about 10 minutes talking about creativity and the last 20 minutes talking about basically business, like how it's beautifully naive when you start being a graphic designer, graffiti artist, illustrator. Like this is kind of like a honeymoon period because you don't necessarily need to think about it. And when I was researching for the book, for the Creativity for Sale, I was like, has anyone actually started with a business plan? Because you just want to do the thing that you love, right? You just want to be like, hey, this is like my hobby and I'm getting paid to do my hobby, even though I still haven't worked out to get my invoice template done or whatever. And people send in like a JPEG invoice, which was like 17 meg, like 15 years ago. You're like, what are you doing? It's just like, you just see that sort of mechanics of business because we make some of these most amazing mistakes, like how things shouldn't be done, because the medium of creativity is such a fuel for what we want to do that when it comes to business, sometimes we feel like, oh, you know what, it's actually fun to plead the ignorance. But everything that you do from the business perspective is actually your education, because you deal with other companies, because you actually need other companies to give you almost like a way in as to look out like, hey, this is how the real world works. And this is what you need to do to actually understand it, because the amount of like new brand strategies that has come out to the internet, they're like, oh, we're doing strategy and stuff, just because we're waking up to the fact that, you know what, there's a real business with people who talk in like a real jargon speak with 3-letter abbreviation. You need to understand this before you even get creative. And I think that's just a kind of helpful wake-up call for most of the creatives now. You can't just be ignorant and say, you know, I don't understand this. You know, this part of business or whatever, like, I can't do this. So my question to you is, how quickly things became real? Because obviously you're talking about EBITDAs and that kind of stuff. Not many designers know what EBITDA means. Obviously, we've got this deal that you're working for companies, which clearly, obviously, some of it pays the bank. We've had a fair share of projects that sometimes we have to do. And I spoke with James Martin, made by James, another some Hamptony and some Sotona. And it was like, we were talking about the fact that everyone needs a kebab shop menu in their portfolio in the first 5 years. But things change. Was that a loss of innocence? Because it sounds like it was a loss of innocence. It's just like, it was blah, blah, blah. Oh, merger, where's Blup? It's just a regular work. And part of me was to say, you know, I won't take off my hat, which I'm not wearing. You'd say, no, I'm taking my hat off to you by sticking to your guns because you want it to be Blup, by all means. Because what you could have really done, you can have actually stuck with the machine, have your people doing the boring stuff. You can just look at your watch, do your stuff at home, and, you know, in 5 years, it'll be all paid for. So let's go back to the sort of beginning and the loss of innocence. Sounds like, was it disheartening?
Yeah, because if you got more than anyone, why you built up your brand's name and it represents you, bro. When people look in the mirror, it's like you're Blup or like you're brand new. So for me, I couldn't attach work that would represent me. I remember like our website, we had to change the language on it, and it was just so agency, man. I was just like, what the hell was going on? But we had to, because then we weren't sellable. We weren't buyable. So buyable from company. They need to land on our website, know what exactly you do, the intricate details, the missions, all that rubbish. I was like, oh my God. So then I remember and by the way, I'm not even slagging off. They could put a lot of people off by thinking about selling the company. But at the end of the day, we were free to do what we want. The mission was get what you can, you got what Blup is and amplify it, make it bigger. But little do we know, it's just what Blup has is so unique, it's so niche that you can't amplify it, because you amplify it, it loses, like you said, the innocence of what it is about, the purity of what creativity is about. And it goes back to the graffiti days. It goes back to just inspiring people. And thank God that was always the core for Alex and I. And we knew something wasn't correct. And look, if the brand was under a different name and I still had Blup and that running on the side, and then me and Al launched whole fucking production studio, we were like, oh yeah, to hire a team, do whatever you want. No one's going to know that we've done it. We can just run this thing over here. But because it was Studio Blup Limited, it reflected on us. And I think what that taught us is, like you said, about the 3-letter business words and stuff like that. It evolved me again. And I actually probably was looking for something to mature me in terms of business. If I'm going to talk to a businessman, I need to articulate my words as sharp as possible, and knowing that I ain't no fool. I'm not just that creative guy. So I'll be going into meetings and I'll be taking over the room and saying, guys, even your group's website is awful. Let's talk about what we can do. And then everyone was like, dying, like, what idea have you got? And I felt good and I felt appreciated. And I was like, I've earned my place on this table full of people who are more experienced, more older, and they were listening to me rant for 5 minutes about some design philosophy, and I would feel inspired. So for me, I was just like, wow, like it just proves that what creativity is so rare that people who haven't got it, doesn't matter what background you are, they will listen to you. And I felt welcomed in that group. I felt honored and needed in that group. But unfortunately, it was just too much of a bigger step to, if I said to someone, could you help me? What can Blup do to get an extra 100K a month? And I'd be like, well, we don't know. But you're an expert in your field. Yeah, but in corporate world, we are not in your world. And then we were just like answering our own questions. And then me and I had to find ways or still keeping the brand innovative as well as making that money. So to answer your question, it was just, overall just keeping it true to yourself, but at the same time, knowing that you have to sacrifice a little bit of your creative flair just to fill those invoices, basically.
Speaking of going forward, it's an interesting story. Yeah, I'm just trying to get my head around it, like how the more people you involve in the process, the more noise you get to enjoy and not enjoy. Because there's a shift. I remember following our contemporaries like Vol 49s and the kind of stuff, and you go like style, amazing style, and then like all of a sudden, what happened? Oh, more employees, bigger clients. And I had a vision of, I'm not going to budge, I'm not going to change, this is what I'm going to do. But then I feel like I found like a natural ending to it, because I was like, okay, I found a back of Photoshop with the style that I was doing. Let's bring other people and see what's there. It's open. And I kind of, in my opinion, actually opened kind of a lot of new horizon opportunities. And I realized that I was okay doing things, and I felt stronger with the people that were surrounding us to help us. And I had sort of amazing creative partnerships with quite a few people that you realize that you can turbo your process. Like all of a sudden, like you can be chasing your business or being on a call with a client and the work's getting done by it and gets coded and stuff. So I found having team around me always liberating, that things move a lot faster. And I think it took us like 18 months to catch up with my to-do list. I'm like, oh, I've got a team of people and we are still catching up. We're still getting the work done. And I think I had that sort of natural break point when I realized that there's a trade-off between the work, ego, freedom, children, time, writing books and stuff. So I just realized that there's only one way you can push the soul through one channel, and the other ones just have to sort of give way. There's experiences that we can be branding a building. Of course, we'll be doing the brochure and the floor plans and the 3D and stuff. So sometimes it's accepted that, you know what, that's what it is. It pays for this house, it pays for the studio, it pays for the staff. So sometimes let's just let it in. But I don't think I would necessarily be like, just like in your case, be dealing with a situation where you go, yeah, give me 10 more people to be telling me what I should be doing, because I think it'd be quite challenging. So let me go to the future. Let me go to where you guys heading. So I hear that Blup is now a creative company. It's not a creative agency, it's a company. So I want to know what inspires you, because you said, you're staying up till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, downloading and sort of looking at stuff. So what inspires you and where you go with this?
Yeah, so we brought ourselves back on the 21st of December, 2023. And we said, we're now going to be Blup 3.0. We're going to go back old school. We're going to create unbelievable, inspiring work. We're going to collaborate. We're going to tour the world doing our thing. We're going to relaunch our products. We're going to do more brand collaborations and just do us. All right. We've had to trim our overheads as well. So we're a lot more leaner. Like I said, we've got rid of our space to work remote, because now we're working with international creators, and we have a lot more freedom that we can invest the money back into our company. With that, it's this kind of, we're launching multi-brand stuff. So we're launching our Blup Academy, which is going to be our biggest thing that we've done. And instead of pitching again to do work against other agencies, how do we create a revenue stream that you're selling your ideas and you've developed something that academic students need when they graduate, because a lot of these kids are lost. So I was born with Blup Academy, where we're going to do like online courses, online downloads. We're just going to basically just make sure the next generation of creators are in good hands, and partner up with the universities to launch that. And that's going to be our number one thing. And that's our purpose. I've been speaking at university for 15 years, and finally there's a chance where I can input our ideas and our philosophies into these kids, that when they graduate, they're going to have fun. And then launching, obviously, the Blup merchandise as well. So we've seen brands smash it, and it's like, why can't we do it? We're designing content for other brands and make other brands rich. Why don't we actually just come up with our own sunglasses, our own t-shirts, our own candle that smells like a Studio Blup, and promote it the way we want to promote it and make our own money through our own brand? We are a brand now, and we have an audience that brands want to connect to. So we have to understand now that the time that we've got, we want to invest into a Studio Blup. And at the same time, if brands want to collaborate with us and create amazing work, the door is open, but we can actually approach on our terms and not necessarily pitch against other agencies and get paid £2,000 to pitch, and then they steal our ideas. No. If you want to work with us, you know what we do, you know what the history is. Come knock on our door and let's work together long term and create partnerships. So with that new energy and that new vibe of where Blup is going to go, I just wake up every day knowing I'm just so excited.
I just want to know what candle smells like Studio Blup. What is it? Is there a big street kebab? So
no, it's just it just smells of just pure inspiration. It's full of just joy and happiness. And when you walk into the room, you just want to design, man. It's our own unique scent. It hasn't been developed yet, but when it does, it's homeware and all that stuff. But it's the Blup logo, man. I want to buy that. I want to give out to my people. And it's reinvesting the money and stuff that we want to have fun with.
Are you building a product line just purely with profits, no external investment, just pure sort of reinvesting money into?
Yeah, so luckily Alice is balancing the books and just saying, all right, we've got this amount of money. Basically, it's our marketing, if you think about it, right? So people are going to be like, what is Blup? And then Google it, and then they see our history and they see what we've done, and they become a fan of the brand. And it just helps us build authenticity, it builds us build a community. And then we can use that community to actually just create bigger and better stuff. Most people spend their money on Facebook advertising. That's just innovate, man. If you can innovate and have fun with it, and good, you are doing it now with your book and your t-shirt. Back in the day, your brochure, like, it's products, man. But you have to have the respect of your clientele to sell the product. You can't just be a standard design agency and release a t-shirt. No one's gonna buy it if you're just looking at the website and it's uninspiring. You got like your t-shirts. I still wear it. I wore it the other day, bro. It's sick fit. I wear it because it represents you, bro, and I'm a fan of your work. And that's how people wear our shit.
I think there's something magical about putting money back into circulation and just spending on commitment. Because what I've done for the last 18 months, I haven't taken new client commission, which is working with existing clients. And everything that we've earned, any surplus, goes into commissioning things, building D2C brands, which are the books that have been there. There's many things happening behind the scenes, which you I think there's a breakpoint. And I think someone might need to hear this, because when you're a freelancer, when you're starting up, you're so cautious about like, am I earning, is this going to be okay? Because it just feels like a really scary freaking lion's den, like, hey, nothing's guaranteed, because we see at the beginning of our creative careers, everything's sort of transactional. Like, we don't think, oh, I'm going to work with this client for the next 10 years. It might happen by accident, but we don't necessarily see it that way. We don't always see the clients like Amazon sees customers, let's get them to buy paperback at loss. We will lose money on the paperback, but we get them through the door and build it, because I can see so many fights of people going like, hey, they haven't paid us enough money. We're not going to do the work. I'm like, how much you've got? We can make it work, because you get to that cost because people grow and you get them the leg up, and it can feel quite scary of like, hey, what have you done? I've invested everything back. I also bought a house. I don't know how. It's just like we just moved and we've done all this. We published 2 books at the same time. It feels scary, but it's necessary, because you might have seen in my post, like, it's no risk, no story. And I think it sounds exactly what you guys are doing. It's no risk, no story.
Hats off to you, man. And even just writing a book, bro, like it's crazy. And, it's a different part of your brain that you're tapping into, and you're creating that product. But that book is going to be there for the next 1,000 years, buried in like the sand. People will dig it with that beautiful orange front cover. I've got your whole theories. But the thing is, it's a different shift in your mind, and you're focusing on, okay, how do I market my own products? How do I make sure this product is so good that you improve every time, like your books have, our quantities of our t-shirts have, and just making sure that when someone rocks your stuff, they're like, man, this is sick. I remember your velvet case, your velvet feeling book cover. And I'll never forget that, because that's the first time I thought, because I know you worked at the printer, so you knew all the techniques. And I was like, this is the most beautiful feeling book I've ever had. And I'm just instantly going to put this on display. And that's when I realized it was about quality and the pride that you had in your products, that people want to just put it on display. And that was like the basis of just how, you have a good product. Just make it look unbelievable, feel good, smell good, and then you're winning.
It's a sensory experience, because when you see like 2D medium, like you can have a 3D work, a 4D work, whatever on your website, but like when you smell it, when you touch it, when you get close to it, this is what I always find, like creating my own products. You always experience and try to do things that you don't always do with your clients, because I remember like creating book number 3, like 14 years ago now, living in Chelsea. And it was like, with plaid paper, like there was more expensive cover than I can print books now with 224 pages. It was really expensive, but you know what? It's just, I always feel that the little steps, we need to cherish them and see like where we're going with this, because no one has a long-term plan apart from Craig Black, which I interviewed a while ago. He's done amazingly, knowing where he's going. But all of us, like, we just see 10 meters ahead going, I see what I'm doing there, but that matters because those steps take you somewhere where you didn't really know where you were heading, and can then enjoy and look back and take the good stuff. For example, you're talking about your merchandise, and I remember one of your t-shirts was worn by Annie Mac, like the full map of overall prints and stuff. But all of these things are like such an important stepping stones and understanding where we're going, how we're doing this, what might happen, because I think it might be quite easy to realize I'm a finished article today. You just keep playing, keep exploring, because you never know what might happen next or might see where it takes you. Because I think being open to these open doors, people come here for the linguistic stuff. Being open to these opportunities this is where you never know where you might take you. So take me back before I let you go. I want to know about Blup Academy, because you talked about new talent, new graduates being left in good hands. So what would they learn from the academy themselves?
So I remember doing a Zoom call with university, and there was about 50 kids on the call. When I say kids, young talent, they don't mind me calling kids. They sound wicked. They sound old. For some reason, I looked all their eyes. I had to have the camera on, which is quite a weird thing. And they were just like inspired by like our journey and what we created. But at the same time, they just felt lost. And I got like a load of emails before saying, I just don't know what to do because COVID, we've been locked in. I can't express myself. I'm running out of ideas. I've got creative block and I'm too nervous to meet people. And now I've seen what you guys do. It's given me hope. And I was like, whoa, okay. So there's talent there that's not being celebrated or not being supported, that when they leave university, they're just left dead and they are just working at mundane agencies or even not even in creative. And we're losing a whole generation of good talent because they haven't had the support in between. So I kind of like work closely with all the lecturers I know, Ricardo from London Bear, Derek Yates, Fitz Venables from Southampton, all from Birmingham, like all the big dogs. And I said, like, what can I do to help? I've been coming in, giving talks and giving out posters and stuff, but it's just in and out. And like I said, I've been speaking for about 15 years and I've seen people at the higher positions of brands saying, Dies, I remember when you came in and you inspired me to get this job. And now we want to commission Blup to work on something. Now I'm the one that controls the money. I'm like, oh, sick. This is great. Again, during the buyout, I was getting told off for going to universities and talking and doing stuff in my own time because they were like, Dines, I like that you go to universities and inspiring, but focus on the business. We've got targets to reach. Put your time into that. I went, nah, I'm doing this after hours. Don't tell me like what I need to do. I'm going to these 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock seminars and talks. I'm going on my lunch breaks to go to these classes and I want to inspire these students. And if that's my true calling and my true purpose and I leave this and I can then go on to this, then that's what I'm going to do. So in the end, I kind of said to Al, I reckon we need to like create a Blup Academy. And it's not something to rival the universities. It's something to work alongside them. And we're going to teach the methods the Blup way. That's the difference. Not everyone can do it. We're teaching what we did to get to where we are. And we're going to give like the real life experiences through mentorships, to portfolio reviews, to online courses, to live briefs, to doing workshops. It's a whole new beast. And then eventually we're going to launch our platform at the end of the day to build that kind of database that they just log in for like £1 a month or something like that. But you've got resources to download. You've got interviews, which I want to interview you soon, but it's just there. Right. And it's just to give back to the community. And at the end of the day, if this then becomes what Blup is really supposed to be, then that's what it's supposed to be. But at the same time, we have to stay relevant, bro. We have to stay relevant. So the work that we do has to attract the talent. If we're not attracting the talent, then they're not going to join. So that's the motivation to keep innovating and keep producing amazing work so then the kids know how to do it the Blup way. And that's it in a nutshell.
So that's an amazing point to wrap up on, because I've known you for God knows how many years, and I always knew how excited you are about things. And obviously, like you talking about the merger, I think is the flatter I've ever seen you. Like this is not quite right. So, dude, keep doing what you're doing because, as you say, you want to stay relevant, you want to attract people, you want to help them. And I think that's that sort of selfless thing which comes with our work, that the older you get, it's less about you, it's more about them and about what we can do for one another, because that's one of the most important things, because we've got these talents and if you put it in a jar, we're like, this is me, don't touch me, like what are you going to end up with? Dude, pleasure to have you on, pleasure to chat to you, and thanks for sharing obviously the information about the more business side of things, because especially for people who are thinking what this might be like, for what does it entail? I think that's very honest. So I appreciate that. And you're opening up about that and sharing the detail. And yeah, we'll link up in the show notes for your academy and for your what you guys doing. And yeah, I'm sure I'll speak to you soon. Nice one.
Thank you, brother. I know you keep shining and keep doing your thing. I love you, brother.
Nice one. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of Creativity for Sale podcast. This show was produced and presented by me, Radim Marnic. Editing and audio production was masterfully done by Neil Mackay from 7 Million Bikes Podcasts. Theme music was written and produced by Robert Summerfield. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to support the podcast, please subscribe and leave a rating or review. To get your own action plan on how to start and grow a life-changing creative business, you can get a copy of Creativity for Sale book via the links in show notes. As always, keep those creative fires burning, and until next time, I'm Radim Marnic, your guide through this exploration of passion, creativity, innovation, and the boundless potential within us all.